and briefly held the title of Missouri heavyweight boxing champion. Later, he was an accomplished golfer who founded the Walker Cup competition between American and British amateurs. Bert Walker's competitive drive extended into the world of business, where he earned a reputation as a hard-charging entrepreneur. He started his own investment firm in his hometown of St. Louis at age 25. After a few flush years, he moved his operation to a larger stage, New York City. There he joined forces with another savvy investor, William Averill Harriman, and became president of W.A. Harriman and Company. Bert Walker wasn't afraid to risk money, and he sure wasn't afraid to spend it. He owned a yacht, Rolls-Royces, and homes up and down the East Coast, including Walker's Point, the only one that remains in our family. As a father, Bert Walker doled out tough love to his sons. His youngest son, Lou, once showed up drunk for a mixed doubles championship at the tennis club in Kennebunkport. The whole family was gathered for the match. When Bert Walker, standing courtside clad in a tie, discovered his son's debauchery, he pulled him off the court. Back at Walker's Point, Lou was summoned into his father's office. Bert Walker told him his drunken performance had stained the family reputation. Then he imposed the sentence. Instead of returning for his next semester at Yale, Lou would spend a year working in the Pennsylvania coal mines. To show up drunk for tennis was rude and disrespectful, and those qualities were not tolerated in Bert Walker's boys. In sharp contrast to the way he treated his sons, Bert Walker showered his two daughters with affection. He showed particular warmth toward his youngest daughter, Dorothy, who was born in Kennebunkport in 1901. In return, Dorothy Walker adored her father, and somehow she managed to inherit his best qualities while sanding off his rough edges. Eventually, she passed those traits on to her son, George Herbert Walker Bush. Like her father, my grandmother had an insatiable competitive streak. My mother once dubbed her the most competitive living human being, a title she earned in pursuits from tennis. She was a nationally prominent player in the small world of women's amateur tennis, to tiddlywinks. She once challenged a friend to swim from Walker's Point to the Kennebunk River Club over a mile away. Thinking she was joking, the friend quit after a few hundred yards. My grandmother swam the full distance in the frigid Atlantic waters. In her most legendary feat, she played in a family softball game while 9 months pregnant, swatted a home run in her final at bat, and then announced that she had started labor as she crossed the plate. My grandmother tempered her zeal to win with genuine humility, and she demanded that all her children do the same. She expected grace in victory, good sportsmanship in defeat, and a commitment to do your best at all times. She instructed her children to downplay personal accomplishments and share credit with others. And her cardinal rule was that one must never brag. In her view, arrogance was unattractive, and a person with true self-confidence did not need to gloat. No one likes a braggadocio, she liked to say. When my father was a child in Greenwich, Connecticut, my grandmother asked him how one of his baseball games had gone. "It was great," he replied. "I hit a home run." "That's nice, George," she responded. Then she stuck in the dagger. "But how did the team do?" Another time, Dad explained that he lost a tennis match because he'd been off his game. "You don't have a game," his mother shot back. "If you work harder, maybe you'll get one." His mother's early lessons in humility stayed with my father his entire life. During his 1988 presidential campaign, I accompanied him to the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. He was there to share his knowledge of world affairs and answer questions from the audience. George Bush knew the policy issues cold. His handling of questions on Soviet relations in Central America was a tour de force. As a lighthearted finale, the moderator asked, "Why are you wearing a red tie?" The question caught him off guard. From my chair next to the podium, I could see him struggling for an answer. I stage whispered, "Because I spilled gravy on my blue one." Dad grabbed the verbal lifeline and the room erupted in laughter at his self-deprecating quip. Then he ruined the moment by blurting out, "That's what you have a son for." That was typical of my father. Proper attribution of the gravy line made no difference to me. I just wanted him to look good. But George Bush was just too humble to fake it.